and Auburn has taken down Houston for the first time in a long time. They beat Houston. So this is their first win versus Houston. I want to talk about some stats here as we get started. But look, Tahad Pettiford was a man in this one. It was actually amazing watching him play today. Tahad finished with 21 points on 7 of 12 shooting, 5 of 8 from three-pointer. He was 5 of 8 from 3. Auburn is not missing Aiden Holloway. They're not missing Aiden Holloway. Please get in here. Get your comments in while we talk about this win. Again, the Tigers take down Houston 74-69 out in Houston. Now, we all know the news. Ja'Kai Howard and our guy Turtle were left. They took them back and they left them. There were some questions about how their absence might actually affect this game. Look, this is a deep team. Hugh Freeze talked about, I'm sorry, Hugh Freeze. Bruce Pearl talked about how deep his team was this year and that he would continue to play a heavy rotation of minutes. And we saw the stars step up in this one. So beside Tahad Pettiford, Janai Broome was right behind him with 20 points on 10 of 15 shooting. Now he was 0 for 4 from 3. He's been hitting that 3 so far this year. But let's talk about some other stats in this one. Auburn shot 53% from the field, which is very good. In what was looking to be a very low-scoring game, scoring picked up in the second half. Scoring picked up in the second half of this one. So this is a great win for Auburn. And I think one that Auburn needed to get to prove that they can beat the better teams in college basketball. So Bruce Pearl has one of his toughest non-conference slates that we've ever seen. And they've got Duke coming up on the 4th, and they've got to go to Cameron indoor. So some of these games are on the road. And getting this one was big. I think big for this team, big for setting the pace. Again, Tahad Pettiford was the man of the night in this one. Auburn turned the ball over 12 times. They turned Houston over 10 times in this one. They scored 10 points off of the 10 turnovers that they forced in this one. Now, Houston got 16 points off the 12 turnovers that they forced in this one. 9 second chance points in this one, and 39 points from the bench, which I think is the stat on this one. 39 points from the bench, incredible. I'm gonna get my guy Dylan Larkin here in a second, and we're gonna get to some of your comments. But again, Auburn takes down Houston 74-69 out in Houston. Kind of wrapping up some of the stats that stood out here. 7 blocks for the Tigers, 6 steals, 14 assists. 13 lead changes in this one. Houston led for 24 minutes and 36 seconds. Auburn only led for 11 minutes and 21 seconds in this one. They shot 30% from 3, which is not great, but they hit the ones they needed down the stretch, and a lot of those came from Tahad Pettiford. Let me get my guy Dylan Larkin here to give his comments. Dylan, Auburn has done it. They finally got a big one versus a top 5 team in the non-conference. This was huge for Bruce Pearl's squad. Give me your quick thoughts, man, before we get to some comments here from everybody joining the live stream.
I mean, it was great. I mean, you get nice little revenge off of a March Madness loss you had a couple years ago. You saw a freshman, and I mean, you feel a little different about that freshman debut than you did from the last freshman that took on a major Big 12 team last year. Overall, I mean, that's what you want to see. This game was everything that you wanted and more. Lead changes galore. I love the commentating about it, talking about comparing it to like a boxing match down to the 15th round. Each team is just throwing punches back and forth. And then Tahad Pettiford and Janai Broome combined for 41 points. That's Auburn basketball, and I love every minute of it. I'm glad to finally go on here and talk about a win for an Auburn team.
It is fun. It's always fun to talk about wins here. Auburn with 22 defensive rebounds in this one versus only 18 for Houston. 33 total rebounds, 233 total rebounds. So they were even in the rebounding category. Houston held a slight edge, Dylan, in offensive rebounds at 11 offensive rebounds for Auburn to 15 offensive rebounds. Again, the 16 second chance points for Houston to versus only 9 for Auburn kind of evened out by the fact that Auburn had a bunch of bench points in this one. 39 points from the bench for Auburn versus only 17 points from the bench for Houston. Look, the refs, this was a weirdly called game, and Auburn won, but I still think that the officiating this one deserves at least a little mention. It was very unevenly called. They were letting guys get mauled early in the game, Dylan, and then they were calling ticky-tack fouls the next play. I think it really disrupted the flow of the game, which makes the win even more impressive for Bruce Pearl's squad.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like Final Four refs just have a weird way of working, where they just don't. It's kind of like, I go into football for a second. The targeting rule, how the targeting rule is different based on whatever officiating crew you get in. This is the same way with this game. A lot of calls going both ways. I was like, I don't know how you call that. I don't know what makes you think this is a travel, but this one over here wasn't a travel, but this over here was a foul, and this one wasn't a foul. It was very, very which way about what they wanted to do when they wanted to do it.
Yeah, again, I thought Auburn had to overcome the refs in this one. Amazing win by the Tigers. Let's get to some of your comments here. We appreciate everybody for joining our post game. Dustin Pace says, War Eagle is a big football guy. I haven't felt this sort of joy watching a sports team I support like this in many years. Chills, Pettiford is an absolute dog. This team can genuinely go all the way. I agree. Look, man, Pettiford is everything I think Auburn hoped Aiden Holloway would be. He, from game one in the exhibition versus Furman, he looked very comfortable out there. He just looked like he knew what he was doing. He looked good with the ball in his hands. They didn't need him, against Vermont, because Miles Kelly was absolutely unconscious. He only took 2 threes in this one, but when they needed shots made, he stepped up in this one. So hats off to Pettiford in the game that he had. Ephesians says, I will say AU has to be better at the line down the stretch. I don't think Houston missed a free throw, and we missed a bunch. This was a problem in the last game as well, too. I think they were somewhere in the 55% range from the free throw line. So absolutely, you have to get that done.
I mean, that was a problem last season, too.
It was. Ephesians says, where's Ike? I know he's lit right now. Can confirm Ike is totally lit. We were celebrating Coach Jay's birthday earlier this evening. I had to go, but Ike stayed. Look, Stay Fly says that Duke game is going to be fun. Auburn travels to Cameron Indoor on December 4th. So I agree, that's going to be a fun one. But you set the tone for that game by proving you can go into somebody's house and get a win here. So Duke is definitely going to be taking Auburn seriously headed into that one. Dustin comes back and says, Duke finna get waxed for real. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Dustin. YPJ, the Maverick, says Pettiford is a future first-round pick. I tweeted this during the game. Well, at least we got him for 1 year. It's a double-edged sword getting these guys in, because they are extremely talented, but holding on to them more than 1 year sometimes is hard when they pop off so early. TYK says 2 heavyweights going toe-to-toe. That was impressive. I don't even care about football anymore. A sentiment I think shared by a lot of people. Going back here, outside of Pettiford, what stood out to you in this one, Dustin? I'm sorry, Dylan.
I mean, it's hard to really look past Todd Pettiford in this game to find something else. But I mean, you saw Janai Broom do what Janai Broom does.
He stepped up.
Yeah, 5 blocks, 2 steals, 1 rebound away from a double-double. I think Cheney Johnson's another big part. I mean, he had an amazing first half, and even got himself a double-double at the end. I love watching how he emerged, because he was a guy last year I was looking forward to seeing and finding his way from D2 up to D1. And of course, I mean, we're seeing that happen in real time. And a lot of players had to probably take more minutes than they had to because of extracurricular events that happened overnight. But you saw a team that overcame that, all the social media insults that were thrown Auburn's way, and you saw this team play as one. And of course, I mean, you saw 9 guys play, and of course, you would have saw 11 had another timeline happened here. But I think that overall, you see a team that feels a lot more complete than what we saw last year, and I mean, could even rival the completeness of what the 2021 team was with the Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler combo.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it was amazing to watch what they did out there today. Ernest says Auburn has a solid 1-2 punch, and everyone else can shoot, but that defense will make it through March. Now, defense has always been the mark of Bruce Pearl's squads, but shooting, I think, is what they've been missing the last couple of years. And so you saw Miles Kelly go absolutely nuts the last game. This game, it was Todd Pettiford. And they talked about it in this post game after Vermont. Miles Kelly talked about any given night, you never know who's going to pop off. That's what they feel about this team. I think we got a little taste of that tonight. William Kelly says that was exciting. I was waiting for the Java Monster to appear, but he never showed up. War damn Eagle. I agree. Ephesians comes back and says, not just a win, a big time win. It was a big time win. Anytime you take down a top 5 team on the road. So when you go back to those Ken Palm ratings and when those net rankings come out, super quad 1 win for Auburn here, which is going to be exciting. Ant Robinson says that Chad Baker-Mazara made the difference. I thought his energy out there was big, and he scored some really big buckets in key situations. Again, talking about having a deep bench. Some days he's going to star. Other days, he's going to play a role like he did tonight and let other guys take front and center. But I thought, I want to get a comment from you here, Dylan. I thought his contribution down the stretch was critical for Auburn.
Yeah, as you go back to like last year with Chad Baker-Mazara, he had a tendency to get a little too energetic. And, I mean, those fouls are going to come for him anyways. I think he had 4 in this game. Overall, I mean, you see the leadership kind of building in him. I mean, this entire team is full of seniors and then a couple of freshmen. So watching how he played, I mean, he stayed composed. I mean, of course, you saw a couple of plays. I thought he was going to get a couple of foul calls for throwing the ball as hard as he was at the other players as he was going out of bounds. But you saw the leadership emerge, and he fits right in with him and Janai Broom as like the true leaders of this team. And of course, Simo falls into that as well. I think he deserves a lot of credit for his leadership contributions whenever he's on the court. But you're seeing whenever he gets in foul trouble, he finds a way not to get himself out of the game. He wants to play. He can play good defense without getting too handsy. And that's something that was really fun to watch. And he made those 2 very clutch free throws in the second half that kind of helped Auburn build on their lead.
Yeah. Talking about some game trends here, again, the dichotomy between the first half and the second half, Dylan, for Auburn. Auburn shot 47.8% from the field in the first half on 11 of 23 shooting. And the second half, they were 16 for 28 for 57.1%. So they were 10% better shooting from the field in the second half. They absolutely needed every bit of that percentage to pull this one out. It was interesting watching them play today and seeing the things that they were able to do. Now, Auburn had, it looks like, only 3 players in double digits in this game. Chaney Johnson with 11 points, Pettiford with 21, and Janai Broom with 20. Everybody else was in single digits versus Houston, who had 5 players in double digits in this one. But again, Auburn with 2 players scoring 20 plus. Houston's leading scorers, Sharp and Cryer, both with only 13 points in this one. So our top scorer is better than your top scorers here down the stretch. Let's get back to some comments here. Floppy Toppy says, we in this hole, Mike G. Shout out to Auburn fans who showed up to Houston. Quite a few of you there. And I did hear from the fans in Houston. It was good to see that Auburn had a decent contingent out there. Let's see here. Habersham Jim says, my wife is straight lit. I must agree, an excellent win. Feels good. Again, with a lot of things going on planes right now, on the planes and on planes. It was nice that they were able to get the win here on the road, because that story about the plane scuffle is even more front and center, I think, if you lose this game, no matter how you lose it, right? Especially with those guys being left home. If you lose a close one, is the storyline, well, could one of those guys have made a difference? We said Ja'Kai Howard. I felt like they should be able to win without him. Same with Turtle. But, look, man, hopefully those guys get that sorted out. Floppy Toppy says there are legit 5 to 6 pros on this team. It's going to be fun. Be a fun year, guys and gals. Agreed. This is a tough non-conference slate for Auburn. And there's no two ways about it. So Auburn has some tough road games here in the non-conference, and they've got to figure out a way through that schedule. So we all know that they play Houston here. They opened up with Vermont. Kent State is next. They've got North Alabama at home. They go on the road to play number 5 Iowa State. Number 7 Duke right after that. Those games are about 11 days apart. Then you've got Richmond, and then you go on the road to Ohio State, and then you've got Georgia State and number 14 Purdue to round out your non-conference. Monmouth is last on December 30th coming in. So again, for fans, after you're done here with number 4 Houston, you have to play number 5 Iowa State, number 7 Duke. You got to go on the road to Ohio State, and you have to play number 14 Purdue. That is an absolutely monstrous non-conference schedule there. Let's see here. Matt Nunley says, I just can't believe we won that one tonight. I was pessimistic at halftime, but now I'm Dr. Optometrist. I think he means optimistic and can see a great future. I don't know what he's going there. Matt, I get it. You see something positive. David Prim says, I love the strong effort they showed even through adversity. Fighting through adversity, I think, is going to be really, really important for this team, Dylan. They've got an opportunity here to really set the tone in the non-conference before they get to conference play. Now, we know the SEC is a gauntlet now in basketball, but a strong non-conference showing will set Auburn up to get the benefit of the doubt come tournament selection time. There was a lot of ado made about the seed that they got last year. I think they got a 5 seed last year.
Yeah, it was 5 seed.
Yeah, 5 seed, right? People were like, should they have gotten a 4 seed? Obviously, they ended up losing to Yale. But I think that Auburn has to get through this non-conference. They're off to a great start. Let's bring our guy, Dustin. Dustin, you ready to jump in here, buddy? And get his thoughts here. Dustin,
yes,
Auburn
sir.
pulls off the win, 74-69. Some much needed good news on the Plains here with a win for Auburn basketball on the men's side. This comes just a day after the women put a 92-piece on Virginia Lynchburg. How do you feel about this one, man?
Obviously, man, this one felt really good. And thinking back to the way last year ended, it felt good to get this win. And also, if you look back at last year, you think about how all those wins were blowouts, right? We won all those games by double digits, and in the close games didn't really pull them out. To see this team step up and make its last 7 free throws, that felt good. In the game that you pulled out by 5. It just kind of felt early like it was going to be one of those games that Auburn loses by a couple of points. Chaney missing the dunk, just not getting any of the calls, not getting any of the bounces, right? Just kind of felt like one of those nights. And for this team, with the adversity that we all know happened the day before, and then for things to be going that way for a large portion of the game, basically a road game versus a top 5 team, man, really, really impressive, Mike. Gutsy performance, clutch. I think this is a performance this team can build on. They can look back on in tight ball games that they're obviously going to be in down the road. So, and this is one of those kind of games when we think about how Bruce stacked up the non-conference schedule. Like, I was thinking with about 7-8 minutes to go, I was like, hey, if we don't pull this one out, like as long as we keep it close, it's still going to look good on the resume.
Yeah,
that's going to look great now. You pulled out the dub, and you pulled it out down 2 guys. So just really, really gutsy. Proud of this team, man. They stepped up, got the stops when they had to get them. I didn't think that either team was going to get over 65 points. So there was a little bit of a higher. Actually, it was more points than I thought, Mike. I thought this was going to be one of the 55, 52 type slugfest. But yeah, just. It excites me to see that, the first game Auburn comes out, you shoot the lights out from 3, you can win that way, and then you kind of win the slugfest tonight, dig down, make the clutch baskets when you had to make them. So really, really excited, man. And like you said, positive vibes on the Plains. We need them.
Yeah, I mean, the difference in this one, the statistical difference that stands out to me in this one, guys, is in the first half, Auburn shot 47% from the field, and Houston shot 40% from the field, and Auburn went in down. Which is a little crazy. In the second half, Auburn shot 57% from the field, but Houston only shot 42% from the field. And that was despite what I felt was them getting a lot of calls and getting the benefit of non-calls. Tugler was jumping over people's backs the entire game, and they were calling it. It was pretty frustrating to watch. So Auburn overcoming all that, I think was quite the feat tonight. Going back to the comments here, Dustin Pace says sports are about those difference makers and clutch players. Refs were cheesing, and we still waxed them. I don't know about waxed, but look, any kind of win here definitely is preferable. Our guy Mike Hubbard says, War Eagle, just trust this team, just support this team. They can go far if we stand by them. I agree. Floppy Toppy says, winning that game definitely shut down the fight playing drama. BP is a wizard at getting these guys focused. I can't stress enough. If you lose this game, the plain stuff is a bigger story. And now the story is going to be about how you pulled out this win. We'll see where it goes from there. Dustin says, if Denver Jones heats up, it's going to be trouble with TP. Yeah, again, after the Vermont game, these guys stressed. Any given night, you don't know who's going to pop off. So we saw Miles Kelly absolutely go crazy versus Vermont. Tonight, it was Tahad Pettiford banking in threes and hitting shots from everywhere he couldn't miss. The step back in the corner was when I knew it was over. When he hit the step back in the corner, I thought there's no way they're stopping this guy tonight. But Janai Broome is your star. That's the guy that you needed to return. And, man, he came up with big plays. They fed him. And when they did, they got Houston in foul trouble really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce definitely recognized that matchup in the second half and just kept going to it, kept feeding them. And, you rode your star player to a victory. Then, obviously, Tahad stepped up and said, hey, I'm here now. So, yeah, big time, man. You can lean on 4 when you have to.
Yep. Riley Mobley, appreciate you being a member for 29 months. Ward Amigo from Germany. Mike G, shout out. My wife, Susie. We did it. I woke up like this. Great win. It's good to see Auburn fans feeling good about something here. I think Putt says this team has so many weapons, but it's a good balance. It's what they tried to do last year. They just didn't have the shot making. I think you were short 1 or 2 shot makers, and it feels like they added 4 shot makers. This is amazing with the improvement of Chaney Johnson. His contributions are going to go overlooked a lot of nights, but he gives you so much. Tonight, Chaney Johnson had 11 points on 3 of 6 shooting. He was 5 of 7 from the free throw line. He got 10 rebounds in this one and 4 assists. This is a solid night, man. Chaney Johnson gave them a really, really good effort tonight, and that was great to watch. Chad Baker off to a slow start, but still he had 7 points tonight. A couple of rebounds. Janai Broome, 20 points, 9 rebounds. He came up 1 rebound short of a double-double tonight. But Chaney got the double-double. 11 points, 10 rebounds. So a great night here. Guys, before we get out of here, final thoughts on this one. Again, Auburn beats Houston 74-69 in Houston. The Tigers will move on from this one happy and healthy, hopefully, and then we'll see what Bruce decides to do. They take on Kent State in Neville here in about 3 days. But, what do you guys think about this team so far? What did you learn about Auburn from this win?
I mean, you learned that this team could play as a unit. You saw last year, and they opened up with a good win over Baylor. You just want to see if this team can remain to stay focused. I mean, there's a lot of veteran leadership on this team, and see how they can go throughout the season. You have a couple of tune-up games before you got to play, 2 championship contending teams on the road. So just got to stay focused and feed zero.
Agreed. Dustin, what did you learn from this one?
I learned that we have something at point guard that we haven't had since Jared Harper in terms of just the ceiling and the explosiveness, just the electricity. Like, that's just something that just hasn't been there. I love Trey Donaldson. He's a tough, hard-nosed player, but just that extra level of explosiveness, like Tahad, it pops off the screen. That, and then what you have in Janai Broome. you know what you have in a guy like Denver Jones. He's a lead on the defensive end of the floor, and you expect him to put the ball in the hoop. So, and then you've learned that you can beat anybody in the country. You learned that you can beat anybody in the country, and that you can play and win multiple kind of ways. That Houston defense is a hard system to crack, and Auburn was making the extra pass. And that it's just critical, man. So play selfless basketball like that. Continue to play Bruce Pearl style defense, and this team's going to win a lot of games. And then it's just about what can you do in March, building that resume to set yourself up to have a good seed in March. And I think that we have the guard play this year that we've lacked in these previous tournament runs. So I'm excited, man.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting season. This certainly sets a good tone, I think, for the rest of the season. So we'll see where it goes from here. Again, I want to thank Dylan and Dustin D&D for joining me here on the post game. Again, Auburn beats Houston 74-69 on the road. The Tigers will be back in Neville in 3 days. We'll be covering that for you live. But we're going to sign off. I want to thank our friends over at Los Amigos Mexican Restaurant. Go visit them at USA Town Center at 1220 Fox Run Ave, Suite 200 in Opelika, Alabama. Some of the best Mexican food you'll ever have. Family environment, great partners in the community. Everybody from law enforcement to local politicians, they all like to dine at Los Amigos. So if you have time, make your way on over there and let them know that the War Report sent you guys. We're signing off. We'll be back at you guys tomorrow with the weekend tailgate. As always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.